Communicate in writing. Written communication is fundamentally different from other forms of communication. It requires special skills in the construction of a message, not least the ability to handwrite or type. It also requires a good knowledge of vocabulary and grammar of a language, such as English, so the written word conveys the intended message to the audience. You cannot use visual cues such as body language or oral cues such as tone of voice. Writing sometimes can seem very easy, but effective written communication is another matter. You need to understand how you can best communicate in writing and what constraints might be imposed by your working conditions. We will identify how you might use the tools at your disposal to communicate your message to your audience, minimizing the risk of misunderstandings. Guidelines. As an employee, you will be expected to follow organisational guidelines and procedures. You'll be allocated space in which to work. You'll be given notice of times you should attend the office and or be available for others to contact you. You will be supplied with communication equipment you will need in your day-to-day work, such as a computer, a telephone and stationery. You may be given access to essential materials such as a shared fax facility. There may be guidelines restricting the way the computer equipment is to be used. For example, there could be rules relating to the use of emails and faxes and the type of information that can be sent by email or fax, for reasons of confidentiality. There could be templates that you are required to use for your written communications, with style sheets that determine the look of any document. For example, in emails you might be required to use a standard footer and company name and your job title, or there may be a standard disclaimer. Organisational guidelines are created to ensure a constant and secure style of communication to those outside the organisation. As a representation of the organisation, you will be bound by these guidelines. Smileys or emoticons. Smileys, also called emoticons, can be used to express a frame of mind. They are used in text messaging and on the internet forums and social networks like Facebook and MSN. They are not suitable for serious communications and will be frowned upon in the workplace. Key messages. Whatever form of communication takes place, reports, letter, fax or email, there will be a key message to be conveyed. Within a letter, this may be flagged by the inclusion of a heading immediately after the salutation. Electronic faxes and emails use a subject line to convey the key message. Grammar and spelling. The body of a report, letter, fax or email will add substance to the key message. It may provide an explanation or apology. It may contain further information such as directions or an itinerary, or it may request action. Whatever the content of the communication, it is important that it is written using the correct grammar and spelling. Mistakes convey an unprofessional image to the reader, and they can also create a confusion if the mistakes result in the message being difficult to understand. Word processing software offers grammar spelling checker options. Use them, but with caution. Structure. If the message runs to more than a line or two, make sure you structure in a way that it aids the reader's understanding. A logical framework with materials presented in a sensible order, using headings and perhaps bullet lists, should help the reader take the information in without a struggle and without having to read the material more than once. You might decide to remember your points or present some material in bold so that it stands out. An illogical framework will mean that the reader has to work harder to interpret your meaning, and this could result in misunderstandings. You may be presented with templates for letters and emails, with standard wording that are expected to adapt for specific communication with suppliers, customers and colleagues. If not, it is a good idea to reuse and adapt communications that you have used previously to convey a similar message. Identifying relevance. When reading your report, letter or email, the recipient will try to identify relevant information within it. In a structured message, this task is made easy. However, if you have hidden relevant information within a massive array of the details, the reader may miss important facts. Underlining or bolding important relevant information such as the date of a meeting is one way of ensuring that such facts are not missed. However, pruning the message so that it contains irrelevant information is more helpful to the reader. There may be a standard way of signing a letter that includes your official title and full contact details. For example, telephone number, email address or postal address. If not, adopt your own standard way which makes it clear that the information is from you. Proofreading. Before you send a written communication such as a report, text message, email or letter, it is essential to review and check your work accurately. When you first read a written communication, the document is called a draft. Each time you redraft your document, you should proofread the text to check that you have not introduced errors. This is in addition to the use of tools such as a spell checker. Finding errors in your own work is tricky. Your eye reads what your brain thinks you've planned to write and compensates for it. Even when there are spelling errors, your brain can still make sense of the text. There are various techniques you can try to improve your proofreading ability. Arrange with someone else that you proofread their work and they will proofread yours. Some people are better at spotting errors anyway. Each pair of fresh eyes is a bonus. Your reading of their work will improve your ability to spot mistakes. Reading your piece more slowly than you would normally would. Out loud and focus on one word at a time. Reading the piece back line by line. Capitalisation. Capital letters are used in the start of a sentence, like the C in this sentence, or for proper names such as James and Portugal. They are also used for abbreviations, for example UK and USA, and for acronyms such as WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. In written communication, especially text messages or email, capitalisation of entire words or phrases is taken to mean shouting and therefore to be avoided, unless you intend to shout. Alternative viewpoints. Some documents can be used to present alternative viewpoints, for example a report or a letter, and the structure of such document must make it clear where each viewpoint starts and ends. The structure may include an introduction to explain the purpose of the document and the summary of the main points covered. For example, a report may consider the effect of two different courses of action. A table may provide useful in presenting the pros and cons of each situation, and a graph may help to show the alternative results. Note-taking. You'll not be alone in generating written communication in your workplace. Colleagues will be sending you documents which you might need to edit before they are circulated. Alternatively, you could receive a document before a meeting which you will need to review so that you are fully informed and ready to discuss the contents at the meeting. You may receive documents from external sources which you will need to review. For example, a supplier might present a quotation, or you might commission some research to help you make a decision regarding some new equipment or course of action. When reviewing a communication, you might find it helpful to take notes. This is especially useful when communication is long and contains a lot of information. Note-taking may involve handwriting key points, annotating a hard copy of the document, writing in the margins, underlining key phrases, or using a highlighting pen for important facts, dates or times. Using reviewing tools to annotate the electronic document with your comments. Electronic annotation is the most useful method. It allows you to email the document back to the originator, and if you want to suggest changes to a document, you can use track changes. When you email the document back to the originator, he or she can accept or reject your suggestions, and the document can be revised in accordance with your combined wishes. Progress is made.